Chapter 5637. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen also couldn't help but laugh. The corners of their lips twitched slightly, and their eyes were full of smiles. They remembered that Xiao Xuanzi had been fantasizing about replacing Bai Li Yinshe to stop the crazy bees and butterflies. Now it seemed that this plan was ruined. No wonder this little guy was not as naughty as he used to be. This incident must have been a big blow to him. Xiao Xuanzi, did you really become ugly after transforming into a human? Xiaobai looked at Xiao Xuanzi seriously after laughing and asked. Nonsense, Xiao Xuanzi quickly denied. I'm not an ugly freak. Are you serious? Why don't you transform into a human and let us see it now? Xiao He looked doubtful. It said that like master, like contracted beast. Just by looking at my master's appearance, you can tell that my appearance is definitely not bad. Don't slander me. Xiao Xuanzi looked unconvinced, and his wings directly pointed at Di Beichen. Seeing that Xiao Xuanzi suddenly shifted the topic to himself, Di Beichen was slightly startled and said, This matter has nothing to do with me. Master, you're not giving me face. Di Beichen chuckled, touched Xiao Xuanzi's head, and said, Don't keep us in suspense. Show us what you look like. We won't dislike you. Actually, I'm really not ugly. I'm just a little fat. As soon as he said that, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen immediately understood. The two carefully looked at Xiao Xuanzi's current body shape. After transforming into a human, such a situation was indeed possible. You're just a little fat. It's nothing at all. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. We're all on the same side. We won't mind. Just show us. No, absolutely not. Xiao Xuanzi refused without hesitation. I want to lose weight. I'll show you after I've lost weight. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other. They knew that this little guy had always been very concerned about this, so they did not continue to ask. Then we'll be waiting to see your handsome appearance. No problem. Just wait patiently. Xiao Xuanzi said proudly. After little Xuanzi left, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and asked, Yinshe, how fat is little Xuanzi? You are indeed a little fat. Bailey Yinshe shrugged, his eyes full of smiles. With Xiao Xuanzi's gluttonous nature, I'm afraid it will be a little difficult for him to lose weight. Di Beichen pondered because this guy just said that he wanted to lose weight, and now he had already gone out to eat. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded with a heavy expression. What you said makes sense. Although Xiao He and Xiao Bai had been pestering Xiao Xuanzi to see his true appearance, Xiao Xuanzi had always stuck to his bottom line and was unwilling to transform into a human no matter what. Even when Xiao He took out her favorite pig trotter as bait, it did not succeed. In these few days, the impact caused by Shen Yaoyang's appearance had dissipated, and the ancient profound sect was removed from the Shengxian continent. The other forces also began to eagerly contact the Tiangang sect and the Cloud Sword sect, wanting to get closer to each other. Regarding this, C2 Yin did not refuse. They would soon head to the Penglai Island, and temporarily could not oversee the sect. Building a good relationship with the other forces was also a good choice. Chapter 5638. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen took advantage of this time to go to Shitian Pavilion. This time, Imo Yunjue did not come back and only asked them to deliver the letter. They naturally kept this matter in mind. Shitian Pavilion had always been an extremely mysterious existence among the many forces in Shengxian continent. However, with the improvement of their cultivation, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were no longer as dangerous as before. When Shitian Pavilion's master saw Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen, he was extremely surprised. However, when he saw the familiar handwriting on the letter, his expression suddenly changed. After thanking them, he did not say anything else. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen did not stay for long. They did not know the situation of Shitian Pavilion, but since Yinju was not willing to come back, he must have his reasons. What should be done was done. As for the rest, Yinju must have his own plans. However, the two did not expect that when they were about to leave Shitian Pavilion's sphere of influence, Shitian Pavilion's master would appear in front of them again. Looking at Shirtion Pavilion's master in front of them, the two looked at each other with some doubts in their hearts. I know that the two of you are nobles. I asked the two of you to take care of Yinju. Hearing this, the two of them were slightly stunned. Then they nodded and said, "Rest assured, Pavilion Master. We're good friends. We will definitely support each other." That's good. I am relieved. After walking for a while, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but say, "In the past, I heard that Shirtion Pavilion's master has a very strange personality. He is bloodthirsty and cruel. However, today, it seems that this is not the case." Shirtion Pavilion was a very terrifying force for many cultivators. This place seemed to be shrouded in darkness. Everything was mysterious and hidden. For Mo Yunjue to be able to possess such outstanding strength at such a young age, it went without saying that he cultivated extremely hard. The Heaven Slaughter Pavilion's cruel methods of training cultivators were extremely famous. It was unknown if he, as the young pavilion master, had also experienced all of this. Even a vicious tiger will not eat its cubs. Perhaps Shirtion Pavilion's master is perverse and cruel, but after all, he is his son. He still has concerns. Di Beichun said slowly. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed. Perhaps there is some misunderstanding between Yunju and Shirtion Pavilion's master. That is why he is unwilling to come back this time. When we go back, we can tell Yunju about this situation. Okay. After everything was ready, Bailey Hongzhuang's group did not delay and went to Punlai Island in groups. A group of disciples began to move under the lead of the elders, while Bailey Hongzhuang and the others took the lead. And Shirtion Pavilion's masters, Shirtion Pavilion. But there are a lot of people here, Shirtion Pavilions. And Hongzhuang's Hongzdian Bing. Mu was also Lingwa's. Tian Hongzha. Mu Ling Bing also found it strange. Hongzhuang, why don't you bring some people over first and split into two groups? Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. No need, let's go together. But this flying car can't fit at all. Could it be that this flying car can become bigger? Nangong Wu carefully sized up the flying car in front of her. The treasures of the upper realm had infinite possibilities. Perhaps it would have such a special effect. That's not it. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head. I'm going to take you there in another way. Chapter 5639. In front of him was a huge black and white palace. At first glance, it gave off a grand and majestic feeling. Taking a closer look at the patterns on the building, he could feel its powerful foundation. After a short moment of shock, everyone was even more curious about why they had appeared in this place. Hongzhuang, where is this place? Lan Yinshao was shocked. In the blink of an eye, they had appeared in another place. This was simply too unbelievable. This shouldn't be your secret, right? Yulin Feng suddenly asked. Just like his stairway to heaven, it was an independent space that was different from the outside world. All of them had suddenly appeared in another place. It was impossible for them to have teleported. The biggest possibility was that they had entered another space. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and nodded. Master, you're so smart. Once she said this, everyone was slightly startled. Then they all understood. I knew that you must have a secret for your strength to increase so quickly. I didn't expect it to be such a big secret. Nangong Wu chuckled, but she was more concerned. This palace looks unusual. You can't tell anyone about this so easily. Mistress, don't worry. I understand. Bailey Hongzhuang's heart was warm. Actually, not many people know about this. I'm only telling you now. Previously, she was too weak. Once the existence of the Chaos Ring was known, it would be very difficult for her to protect it. Now that her strength had gradually increased, she could be a little more at ease. Moreover, everyone in front of her was her family. They could be completely trusted, so she did not need to worry. Compared to the joy of Si Tiyin and the others, when Jinghui's feelings were undoubtedly the most complicated. The others were Hongzhuang's family, but he was not at that level. However, just by looking at Xiren and Shangwan Yingying's habitual expressions, he knew that these two little guys already knew about it. While he was sighing, he also felt a little gratified. The friendship between these little fellows was really extraordinarily stable. Don't worry, I will definitely not leak this news. When Jingwei said, hearing this, everyone turned their gazes. After noticing when Jingwei's serious expression, everyone could not help but smile at each other. Master Wen, we all believe in you. Xiren and Shangwan Yingying also had smiles on their faces. My father is absolutely trustworthy in this regard. Because the flying car can't fit all of us, we'll stay here for the time being. We'll leave when we reach Penglai Island, Bailey Hongzhuang said. She had already thought of this problem when she was preparing to set off. He didn't have to keep this a secret from his loved ones. I see. No problem. Lan Yunxiao nodded. This place is more suitable for cultivation. We'll reach Penglai Island in a few days. Di Beichen steered the flying car towards Penglai Island, while Bailey Hongzhuang led everyone on a tour around the Chaos Ring. In the end, everyone chose a place to cultivate in peace. At present, everyone was wholeheartedly hoping to increase their cultivation bases as soon as possible. After all, the pressure of heading to the upper plane was considerable. Increasing their cultivation bases by just a little bit would allow them to feel more at ease. Chapter 5640. Going to Penglai Island again, Di Beichun was undoubtedly familiar with the road. The flying car had become his magic tool, and he could control it easily. The people on the ground only saw something flying through the air, but they didn't know what it was. The elders rushed to Penglai Island with the cultivators, and their speed was undoubtedly much slower. However, everyone's heart was full of excitement, especially after seeing the powerful strength of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. They were full of yearning for Penglai Island. To a cultivator, there was nothing more exciting than strength. At this moment, Xia Jiqing, Bai Junyu, and Dongfang Yu were sitting together on the flying magic tool. The three of them were also very curious about all this. Hongzhuang, does the upper realm have many things that the lower realm doesn't have? This flying car is very amazing. I haven't even heard of it before, let alone seen it. Xia Jiqing's face was full of curiosity. After learning about a more powerful and mysterious world, they were not worried about the future, but longing and yearning. Bailey Hongzhuang thought about it and nodded. In some ways, yes. In fact, the difference between the upper realm and the lower realm is not big, but the things there are more comprehensive. In the lower realm, the most prominent thing is alchemy. In the upper realm, alchemy, inscription, forging, array, and so on are very good. The same is true for cultivation methods. There is a more comprehensive way of cultivation that can help cultivators improve their cultivation. Hearing this, Bai Junyu and the others were all excited and couldn't help but look forward to it. Listening to you, I am even more looking forward to the upper realm. Xia Jiqing rubbed her hands and smiled. Penglai Island is also a very challenging place. I believe you will have a lot of rewards here. With the flying magic tool, even if the distance was far, they still arrived quickly. This time, because they were more familiar with the path, their speed was faster. 7 days later, everyone successfully arrived at Penglai Island. Everyone looked at the islands in front of them, and there was surprise and emotion in their eyes. It turns out that this is Penglai Island. There are really many islands. Xia Jiqing couldn't help but sigh. The edge of the island was surrounded by clouds and mist, and it looked like a fairyland from a distance. She had only seen such a place in her dreams. She had never thought that it would actually exist. What a magical place! Dongfang Yu's eyebrows rose slightly, his handsome face revealing a pleasantly surprised expression. Sure enough, this place is different from the outside world. It's even more mystical with just a glance. Looking at the appearance of Xia Jiqing and the others, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. When they first came to Penglai Island, they also had the same feeling. However, at that time, they were being chased all the way and did not have the leisure to appreciate all of this. They only thought that it would be good enough if they could safely escape. When Bailey Hongzhuang and her group appeared on Penglai Island again, everyone's eyes fell on them. It had to be said that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun were extremely conspicuous. After the previous battle on the Scarlet Moon Island, the strength of the two of them made everyone understand how powerful they were and how they could not fight against them. Now that the two had appeared again, it was no surprise that they would attract everyone's attention. Chapter 56-41. Why are there so many people around Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun? Also, these people look unfamiliar. These people must be coming to Penglai Island for the first time. Don't tell me they brought their relatives here. That's too much. Penglai Island is not a place that just anyone can come to. One of the cultivators frowned. They had all come to Penglai Island because their strength had reached the standard. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun had brought all their relatives here without a second thought. That was too inappropriate. Hearing the man's words, the person next to him patted his head and said, "Do you want to die? Speak softly." Even if Bailey Hongzhuang and the others broke the rules, so what? Even sect leader Yuan of the Crimson Moon sect was no match for her. She can bring whoever she wants here. Everyone looked at each other. Even though this situation made them speechless, no one dared to say anything. Who asked the other party to be so powerful? In everyone's eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang was more powerful than the sect leader of the Crimson Moon sect. Unless you were more powerful than her, you would be courting death. Moreover, there was still Di Beichun. Even though Di Beichun did not make a move at that time, everyone knew that Di Beichun was more powerful than Bailey Hongzhuang. On top of that, this guy was undoubtedly protective of his wife. No one was willing to offend Bailey Hongzhuang. Mu Lingbing looked around Penglai Island with a faint smile on her beautiful face. It's really lively here. But, Hongzhuang, why do I feel like everyone here knows you? Even though they were far away and she could not hear the discussions clearly, she could still vaguely hear Hongzhuang and Beichun's names. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly startled. She looked around, and the cultivators who were originally sizing them up immediately retracted their gazes, not daring to look again. Because we used to be inner palace disciples of the Penglai Palace, everyone is more familiar with us. That's right. Besides, Hongzhuang and the others are so outstanding. It's normal for everyone to know them. Nangongwu was very optimistic. With the combination of Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun, no matter where they appeared, they would definitely attract attention. Let's go to the Penglai Palace first. The sect master and Lord Long are very familiar with us. When the elders and disciples arrive, we will have to rely on them to take care of us, Di Beichun said slowly. Situ Yin nodded. Indeed, we should settle everyone down first. Only then can we leave with peace of mind. When Bai Tsangming, Long Yanwei, and the others heard that Bailey Hongzhuang had returned, they immediately came out to welcome her. As they already knew the purpose of Bailey Hongzhuang and Long Yanwei's return, Bai Tsangming and Long Yanwei were not surprised to see so many people. Hongzhuang, you're here. Hall Master Bai, we'll have to trouble you again, Bailey Hongzhuang said with a smile. We're already so familiar with each other. Why are you still being so courteous? Bai Tsangming waved his hand, as if saying that they were on the same side, and there was no need to be courteous with him. After everyone sat down to rest, Di Beichun said, Hall Master, we really have something to ask of you this time. Chapter 56-42. While Bailey Hongzhuang and Long Yanwei were conversing with Bai Tsangming, Si Tian and the others were sizing him up. When they entered the Penglai Palace, they knew that the Penglai Palace was a very large sect. Along the way, they felt that the cultivators' auras were all in the purple realm. Some of the cultivators' auras even made them feel dangerous. As a palace master whose basic disciple was at the purple realm, he must be an extremely powerful existence. Now, the palace master's attitude toward Hongzhuang was actually so polite. They could not help but feel proud. Our clan's cultivators will arrive in a few days. At that time, I hope that the palace master can take care of them. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. She understood that the cultivators who came this time might not be as powerful as the cultivators from Penglai Palace. However, as long as the palace master was willing to take care of them, there would be no problem. If they stayed here, they naturally did not need to worry at all. No one would provoke them. However, they would be heading to the upper realm very soon. At that time, they would need someone to take care of them. Since they had brought them here, they had to be responsible. Baizaming also understood when he heard that. He originally thought that Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to bring everyone to the upper realm. He did not expect that Bailey Hongzhuang had such a plan. From the looks of it, Bailey Hongzhuang still had her own forces outside. It was because it was inconvenient to bring the entire clan over that she made such an arrangement. Both Baizaming and Long Yanwei understood Bailey Hongzhuang's overall plan. Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to bring the entire clan to become powerful. She even wanted to move the entire clan to the upper realm. Although this plan seemed very shocking now, it was not impossible to implement it in detail. Don't worry, leave this matter to me. Baizaming agreed without hesitation. He was actually not worried that Bailey Hongzhuang would have a request. On the contrary, he was worried that Bailey Hongzhuang would not have a request. With the current status of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, they would definitely be extremely terrifying existences in the future. There is absolutely no harm in being on good terms with such people. Thank you, Palace Master Bai. Seeing that Baizaming agreed so readily, Bailey Hongzhuang also secretly heaved a sigh of relief. A relaxed smile appeared on her face. You're welcome. With our friendship, this is only a small matter. Palace Master Bai, actually, we also understand that the cultivators from our clan are not as strong as the other disciples. So when the time comes, it will inevitably cause some trouble. Baizaming chuckled. Hongzhuang, you're overthinking this matter. Actually, as long as they know that they are your people, they will not be blind. Baizaming and Long Yanwei. He's in Yanwei's Hongzhuang, and Hongzhuang Yanwei's in Yanwei's. If you don't worry. And the Hongzhuang you, Yanwei's you. Songming you, may, some. Chapter 56:43. This time, she brought the cultivators of her family to improve their cultivation. The dangers during the experience were inevitable. This kind of risk was naturally borne by them. She wanted to take care of them, so that what happened in Penglai Palace would not happen to her own cultivators. At that time, they were also very lucky. If there were more cultivators, then even they would not be able to save their lives. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang understood, Baizaming's smile became more and more cheerful. That's good. Then I can rest assured. In short, you can rest assured that after they come to Penglai Palace, I will definitely give them the treatment of the Inner Hall disciples. In addition, I will also send people to ensure their safety in the palace. With your name, I think the average disciples will not come to touch the bad luck. As for the risks encountered during the experience, it will depend on them. Thank you. After all this was determined, Xia Jiqing and the other two had also arranged their accommodation. Although the other cultivators had not yet arrived, the accommodation had been uniformly divided. At that time, everyone would live here together. You can receive cultivation resources every month, and at the same time, you could do some other tasks to earn points in exchange for resources. Bailey Hongzhuang introduced the situation of Penglai Palace to Xia Jiqing and the other two. The others have not arrived yet. You can familiarize yourself with the situation for a while, and then tell everyone the situation. Xia Jiqing and the others nodded slightly. Understood. If there is anything you don't understand or are not satisfied with, you can tell me. I will arrange everything before you leave. Xia Jiqing and the other two looked at each other and then shook their heads. Hongzhuang, I think it's already very good here. Xia Jiqing looked satisfied. The power here is very rich, and the cultivation should be much faster than before. The most important thing is that you can receive so many cultivation resources every month. Spirit stones are very helpful for cultivation. I finally understand why your cultivation speed is so fast. Here, your cultivation speed is really much faster. The cultivators I encountered along the way are all very formidable. I get the feeling that this place is already a completely different world. I wonder what the upper plane will be like. I'm looking forward to it. Bai Junyu rubbed his hands, his sunny face filled with longing. Beichun, Hongzhuang, we will definitely work hard to improve our cultivation and strive to join you in the upper realm as soon as possible. Dongfang, the girls here are not only beautiful, but they're also not weak. You should take a look. Xia Jiqing teased. Along the way, she had noticed that many girls were interested in the East. That's right, this can indeed be developed. Bai Junyu agreed. Dongfang Yu looked at the two gossipy people in front of him. How come I didn't realize that you two had the potential to be matchmakers? Are we just worried that you'll die alone? Don't worry, I won't. The news that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others brought their relatives to Penglai Island quickly spread. For a time, everyone was curious about their relatives. Even more people couldn't help but feel envious. This was the privilege of the strong. Chapter 56-44. When a man achieves the Tao, all his friends and family will ascend to heaven. This must be the case. I have to say that Hongzhuang is really capable. Bai Caoming looked emotional. The D family is also an extremely powerful force in the upper realm. I was originally worried that she would be wronged in the D family, but now it seems that it's not the case at all. Bailey Hongzhuang could bring her family to the upper realm. This was definitely because the D family valued her very much. Otherwise, it would definitely be impossible. Hongzhuang has a very strong tenacity. This tenacity is a very precious quality for cultivators, but very few people have it. I think that someone like her can survive well no matter where she is. Long Yanwei smiled, and his voice was filled with certainty and confidence. Although I don't know how Hongzhuang did all this, I admit that what you said makes sense. Bai Caoming nodded in agreement. I think you also want to go to the upper realm to take a look. Hearing this, Long Yanwei was slightly stunned. Why are you suddenly talking about this? I know that you've been staying here to help me. Now that the Penglai Palace's position is stable, if you want to go to the upper realm, then go to the upper realm. If you really want to go to the upper realm, then go. I don't want you to stop your own development because of me. Bai Caoming's expression was serious. There was some reluctance in his deep eyes, but there was also a kind of tranquility. Long Yanwei looked deeply at Bai Caoming and then smiled. With our friendship, how can it be considered stopping my development? Moreover, I promised Qian that I would help you strengthen the Penglai Palace. I know that you've been helping me because of Qian but so much time has passed. It's time for you to let go of this heavy responsibility. Bai Caoming patted Long Yanwei's shoulder, and his black eyes were filled with emotion. If it weren't for your help, the Penglai Palace wouldn't have developed to its current scale. Back then, when the three forces were in a balance of power, the Penglai Palace was not the most outstanding. It was precisely because Long Yanwei was a sealing master and the temptation of these contract beasts that so many outstanding cultivators were attracted here. Now that the Penglai Palace had become the pinnacle existence among the three major forces, countless cultivators wanted to enter this place. There was no need to worry about this problem. I'm actually doing pretty well here. Long Yanwei smiled faintly. Don't think too much. I've long treated Penglai Palace as my home. Because they had just arrived at Penglai Island, Mu Lingbing and the others were curious about the situation here. Therefore, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others weren't in a hurry to leave. Instead, they brought everyone around Penglai Island for a tour. This Penglai Island is truly very lively. I hope that the elders will be able to get used to this place after they arrive. Mu Lingbing smiled as she surveyed her surroundings. Although the elders were usually working hard on their cultivation, they could not help but spend some of their energy on the family. Now that he had come to a place where he could concentrate on cultivation, he might feel a little uncomfortable. Don't worry, their adaptability isn't bad. Situ Yen smiled faintly. Although they were not young anymore, it was precisely because they were not young that they were more serious in their cultivation. Only when one's cultivation was stronger would one's lifespan be longer. Everyone hoped to live longer. There are many new things on Penglai Island. Mother, if you're interested, you can look around here and buy whatever you like, Di Beichun said with a smile. Even though he had already married Hongzhuang, he still had to coax his mother-in-law well. Chapter 5645. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun were about to tour Penglai Island with everyone, someone suddenly came to inform them of a piece of news. Young Master D. Miss Bailey, the Palace Master sent me to inform you that the sect leader of the Crimson Moon sect would like to see you. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun were shocked when they heard that. After they had dealt with the sect leader of the Crimson Moon sect, they did not take this matter to heart. They did not expect the sect leader of the Crimson Moon sect to come and ask for an audience today. It seems that the Crimson Moon sect is quite fast. They already have a new sect leader. Di Beichun raised his eyebrows as his lips curled into a playful smile. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. The Crimson Moon sect is a big sect after all. Although the Crimson Moon sect has been slightly affected after the first incident, their strength is probably weaker than before. However, a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. They definitely do not want to be destroyed just like that. Therefore, they are supporting a new sect leader as soon as possible. This is the only way to stabilize the hearts of the people. Although she had only killed the sect leader, an elder, and a teacher, the three of them were extremely important to the Crimson Moon sect. It was obvious that the Crimson Moon sect had gone through a huge upheaval and had only just stabilized. If I'm not wrong, the new sect leader is probably worried that we will cause trouble, so he specially came to greet us first. Di Beichun nodded. I'm afraid that many people in the Crimson Moon sect have not been able to eat or sleep well since the day we returned. After Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun returned to Penglai Palace, Bai Tsangming and Long Yanwei were already waiting for them. You're back. Bai Tsangming was delighted. The new sect leader of the Crimson Moon sect is here to see you. Tell us about the new sect leader first. The Crimson Moon sect has been divided into two factions. As the original sect leader was killed, the new sect leader's faction rose. He took the opportunity to overthrow the other faction and became the new sect leader. This new sect master is called Pei Yuan. His evaluation is not bad, but he has been suppressed previously. If you didn't kill the previous sect master, he probably wouldn't have stood out. Bai Tsangming introduced. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Her heart also understood. If there were two factions, then this would be the best time for them to rise. This Pei Yuan shouldn't be as ridiculous as the previous sect master, right? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Bai Tsangming was shocked when he heard the word absurd, but he quickly understood what Bailey Hongzhuang meant. Pei Yuan did not condone the cultivators bullying others. Although he has not been in office for long, everyone's comments about him are quite good. Furthermore, he does not have any bad habits. Instead, he changed some of the rules of the Crimson Moon sect and paid more attention to the character of the cultivators. In my opinion, you have your reasons for doing this. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. No matter what the reason is, it's good that he has restrained himself. If that's the case, let's go and take a look. Bailey Hongzhuang turned to look at Di Beichun. Sure, Di Beichun smiled. The Crimson Moon sect seemed to have an inexplicable and ill-fated relationship with them. Ever since they came to Penglai Island, the cultivators of the Crimson Moon sect had been in conflict with them. Chapter 5646. When Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun saw Pei Yuan, they realized that he was unexpectedly young. He looked like he was in his 30s. He was indeed quite capable to become the new sect leader of the Crimson Moon sect. Miss Bailey, Master D. Seeing the two of them, Pei Yuan hurriedly stood up and bowed to them. If others saw this, they would be surprised that the sect leader would bow to the two young people. However, Pei Yuan did not find it strange at all. If the two of them were willing, Penglai Island would definitely be under their control. However, the two of them had not done so because they did not care about it. Sect leader Pei, you're too kind. Di Beichun's voice was gentle, and there was no expression on his calm face. It was this appearance that made Pei Yuan even more fearful. He had long heard that the two of them were extremely powerful. Today, although the two of them did not deliberately release their auras, he could clearly feel the difference between the two of them. Moreover, he had angered the two of them time and time again. Today, he was already trembling with fear. Now that he saw the serious Di Beichun, he could not help but feel worried. Actually, I'm here today to apologize to the two of you for what happened previously. It was our fault for doing such a thing. Pei Yuan bowed deeply, and his face was filled with guilt. Thank you for your forgiveness. I represent the entire Crimson Moon Sect's cultivators to apologize to the two of you. Seeing Pei Yuan's actions, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other, and there was less disgust in their eyes. In fact, they would not condemn everyone. The previous incident might not have been related to Pei Yuan. Sect leader Pei, it's all in the past. You don't have to keep it in your heart. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice rang out. I've already said what happened previously. The grudge is over, and I won't blame you for it. However, if something like this happens again in the future, don't blame me for making the entire Crimson Moon sect disappear. Hearing the cold warning in Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Pei Yuan quivered and hurriedly nodded. Don't worry, Miss Bailey. I won't let something like this happen again. If something like this happens again, there's no need for you to do anything. I'll commit suicide to atone for my sins. Pei Yuan's expression was serious. He looked at Bailey Hongzhuang fearlessly, revealing his confidence. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. That's good. I heard that your family members have also come to Penglai Island. If you have a chance, you are welcome to visit the Crimson Moon Sect. I guarantee that no one in the Crimson Moon Sect will be disrespectful to them. There's no need for that. We've already arranged for them to stay in the Penglai Palace. If there is anything that the Crimson Moon Sect can do for you, it would be our honor, Pei Yuan said once again. I hope that you can manage the Crimson Moon Sect well and not allow the cultivators to do as they please. I definitely will. Pei Yuan heaved a sigh of relief after he left. Actually, he had been extremely nervous to come here today. However, he had no choice but to come. Fortunately, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were not as unapproachable as he had imagined. On the contrary, they gave him an amiable feeling and did not make things difficult for him. Thinking about it, he was extremely grateful to Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen. Chapter 56-47. After everyone stayed on Penglai Island for a while, Xia Jiqing's group of 3 took advantage of this opportunity to gain a better understanding of Penglai Island. Although they basically stayed on Penglai Island and didn't go to other islands, they were already familiar with the environment of Penglai Island. As long as their strength improved, they could go to other islands. Among them, Demon Refining Island was the place they were looking forward to. On this day, Bailey Hongzhuang's group was ready to set off. Jiqing, I'll leave the matters here to you. Bailey Hongzhuang held Xia Jiqing's hand, her bright face full of reluctance. I hope you can improve your strength as soon as possible. When the time comes, I'll come and pick you up. Don't worry, when everyone arrives, we'll definitely pick them up as soon as possible. During this time, we've also understood the situation here. When the time comes, we'll tell them one by one. You can rest assured. Xia Jiqing smiled and nodded. We'll definitely not give up on our cultivation. I hope we can go to the upper realm and meet up with you soon. Then we'll wait for you in the upper realm. Di Beichen looked at Dong Fengyu's group of 3. Just wait, our speed is very fast. Dong Fengyu smiled, his expression relaxed and indifferent. We'll be looking forward to it. After explaining everything, Bai Tsangming and Long Yanwei also came to send them off. Although they didn't know how long they would be gone this time, everyone knew that Bailey Hongzhuang's group would return after Xia Jiqing's group strength improved. Have a safe trip. Bai Tsangming smiled. Take care. As soon as his voice fell, Bailey Hongzhuang's group didn't stay any longer and directly entered the transmission array. If they wanted to go to the upper realm, they still had to pass through the training grounds and arrive at the transmission array. When Lan Yunxiao and the others arrived at the training grounds, they couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts when they saw the scene of death everywhere. This kind of death aura seeped out from every corner, and there wasn't the slightest bit of vitality. It was shocking. This is the training grounds? Situ Yin frowned. It's so lifeless, without the slightest bit of vitality. There's actually such a place. Di Beichen nodded slightly. When they first came to the place of experience, they were also full of shock, But now, looking at all this again, they had long become accustomed to it. Moreover, as someone of the darkness attribute, he felt even more intimate with this. This is the place where the skeletons gather. Only cultivators would come here to train. Normally, no one else would come here, Bailey Hongzhuang explained. However, this training ground is filled with endless risks. It is very safe during the day, but once night falls, the skeleton army will appear. Every night, there would be cultivators dying in the hands of the skeletons. However, it was precisely because the size of the skeleton army was not small that they needed to be exterminated. In order to ensure everyone's safety, the three great powers set up this place as a training ground. Hearing this, C2 Yin and the others immediately understood the painstaking efforts of the three forces. It turns out that the three major forces are actually shouldering such a responsibility. How admirable! Wen Jinghui's eyes were filled with admiration and admiration. He had never seen the skeleton's true strength, but the cultivators from the upper realm were so powerful, yet they were still filled with fear of this place. Just from this point alone, he could determine how terrifying the skeleton was. Chapter 5648. Lan Yunxiao and the others all nodded. Experts often shouldered responsibilities that others didn't understand. Because of this matter, they had a trace of admiration for the three great factions. It's quite dangerous here. It'll take us a few days to reach the transportation array. Moreover, there's a mysterious force here that prevents flying vehicles from flying. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly spoke and turned to Situ Yin. Grandfather, do you all want to enter the Chaos Ring? Hearing this, C2 Yin and the others immediately understood. It seemed that this training ground wasn't an ordinary place of danger. Even with Bewitching strength, they were worried that they would be in danger. Since we've come to this training ground, let's take a look. Situ Yin spoke, then looked at the others. What do you all think? I'm fine with it. Wen Jinghui was the first to speak. He originally liked training grounds, so he wasn't afraid of any kind of danger. It was his first time seeing this mysterious training ground, so he naturally wasn't willing to miss it. Moreover, his son had been training here for so long. How could he, as his father, be lax? I also agree. Yulin Feng quickly followed. I agree. Instantly, the others expressed their agreement. Everyone wanted to see what was different about this place that they had never seen before. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other and didn't refuse. The current training ground wasn't as dangerous to them as before. The reason why they suggested for everyone to enter the Chaos Ring was because they were worried that a sudden hole would appear and they wouldn't be able to dodge in time. If anything happened, it was clearly something they didn't want to see. However, since the elders wanted to take a look, they naturally wouldn't refuse. They just had to be a little more careful. The cultivators in the trial grounds noticed that Bailey Hongzhuang and her family had appeared here. They were also very curious in their hearts. They did not understand why they would appear here with their families. Look, isn't that Bailey Hongzhuang's group? I didn't expect them to come to the training ground. Have you forgotten? Previously, when Bailey Hongzhuang's group appeared, they were also in the training ground. Now that they're here, I feel like there's some secret in this training ground that we don't know about. Do you want to follow and take a look? Do you want to die? Even though everyone was curious about Bailey Hongzhuang's group, no one dared to get close for fear of angering them. Such a powerhouse was not someone they could afford to provoke. Mu Ling Bing and the others sighed as they listened to the discussions of the cultivators around them. From the moment they arrived at Penglai Island, they had already understood how powerful Bailey Hongzhuang's people were in everyone's eyes. All the practitioners were respectful to them, which made them very proud. Everyone quickened their pace and quickly approached the teleportation array. As time passed, night gradually fell. When the entire training ground was shrouded in darkness, Lan Yunxiao and the rest felt their hearts sink for no reason. A stifling feeling spread out, causing them to unconsciously feel a trace of nervousness. The skeleton army can appear at any time in the dark. We have to be careful, Bailey Hongzhuang reminded. Chapter 5649. Wan Jinghui was only slightly weaker, as he was at the 9th level of the Purple Realm. Mu Jintz, Mu Lingbing, and Nangong Wu were also at the 8th level of the Purple Realm. With their talent, it would be easy for them to break through to the Astral Realm once they reached the Upper Realm. Because of this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others weren't worried. They believed that they would quickly adapt to life in the Upper Realm. Be careful, there's a darkness aura up ahead. Just as they were about to advance, Di Beichen's warning rang out. As soon as these words came out, everyone immediately stopped. No one doubted Di Beichen's judgment. Just as Di Beichen finished speaking, they quickly discovered that the flat ground ahead of them was beginning to wriggle. Soon after, potholes quietly appeared on the ground. The potholes appeared extremely quickly, as if they had always been there. Skeletons quickly emerged from the ground, accompanied by rustling sounds. Under the moonlight, they appeared even more sinister, causing everyone's hair to stand on end. Nangong Wu's mouth opened wide enough to fit an egg. Her round eyes revealed the shock in her heart. So many skeletons. Previously, she had been curious as to how many skeletons Hongzhuang could command. How could it be called an army? Now that she saw it with her own eyes, she understood that it wasn't an exaggeration. This was a real army. Lan Yinxiao and the others were also shocked. So many skeletons, yet they can move freely in the dark. The Upper Realm is truly mysterious. I thought I already understood this world very well, but now it seems that we were too naive. When Jinghui sighed, his clear eyes blossomed with radiance. Situ Yin smiled in the midst of his shock. Isn't this in line with your personality? Well said. I'm looking forward to the Upper Realm even more. When Bailey Hongzhuang heard Wen Jinghui's words, she immediately understood why Situ Yin had chased Xyrant to Penglai Island. His personality dictated it. Beichen, can your darkness attribute control these skeletons? Lan Yinxiao asked. Di Beichen nodded slightly. Sure. Why don't you show us how to control it? Nangong Wu's eyes lit up. Speaking of which, she really hadn't seen Di Beichen's methods. For a moment, everyone's eyes fell on Di Beichen. Di Beichen looked at everyone and then agreed with a smile. Dark energy gushed out from Di Beichen's body, and the skeleton that was bearing its fangs and brandishing its claws suddenly changed its appearance. It respectfully bowed to Di Beichen. Greetings, my lord. The leading general dismounted from the skeleton horse and respectfully saluted. Seeing this scene, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with surprise. She already knew about Beichen's method of controlling skeletons, but she didn't expect that these skeletons could actually speak. This was too unexpected. Di Beichen was also surprised, but then he nodded. Rise. My lord, where are you going? Do you need this subordinate to escort you? No need. Yes. Situ Yin and the others stared blankly at this scene. If they hadn't personally seen that this fellow was indeed a skeleton, they would have thought it was an obedient subordinate. Chapter 5650. It wasn't until they were some distance away that Wen Jinghui couldn't help but say, the power of darkness is really powerful. Aside from their appearance, these skeletons look just like living people. It's precisely because darkness attribute cultivators are so powerful that a catastrophe once happened in the Upper Realm. Since then, darkness attribute cultivators have been targeted, and the inheritance of darkness disappeared without a trace. Now, darkness attribute cultivators in the Upper Realm are in a difficult situation. Xyrant said, I think Beichen's current strength isn't weak at all. As long as he is strong enough, who cares what others think? Wen Jinghui had an indifferent expression. Most geniuses are envied by others. Many people think of ways to harm others because they don't have the ability. A true powerhouse will make them shut up. Although Wen Jinghui said it casually, no one present could refute it because it was indeed the truth. As long as one was strong enough, everything they said was the truth. But if one wasn't strong enough, even if what they said was the truth, it was nothing but nonsense. Beichen, that skeleton soldier, just called you Lord. Do you know why? Bailey Hongzhuang had a puzzled expression. They had never encountered such a situation before. Moreover, This title was very interesting. I don't know. Di Beichun shook his head. This is the first time I saw a skeleton that can talk. I feel that this skeleton army seems to have improved a little. Back then, that lich was stronger than ordinary skeletons. Now, more and more skeletons are appearing. Could it be because the inheritance of darkness has reappeared in the world? Bailey Hongzhuang secretly thought. He Xinjun was the holy son of darkness. This inheritance was completely different from the ordinary inheritance of darkness. I wonder if other darkness attribute cultivators are also called Lord? Shangguan Yingying suddenly asked curiously. As soon as this question came out, everyone looked at each other. This was indeed a good question. If we encounter more skeleton soldiers like this in the future, let's try again. Bailey Hongzhuang smirked. She was also a cultivator of the darkness attribute. Although she and Beichun cultivated at the same time, her attainments in the darkness attribute were still slightly inferior. Just like how Di Beichun's light attribute was slightly inferior, even though the two of them had dual attributes, there was still a direction they focused more on. Beichun, your ability is truly amazing. Situ Yin smiled faintly. This dangerous training ground is like your own backyard to others. It's not a threat at all. That's because this place is full of skeletons. If we were in other places, we would have to be careful. In front of Si Tuyin, Di Beichun was always very modest. Because of Di Beichun, they didn't slow down much even though it was dark. When some cultivators saw Di Beichun's group safely passing through the skeleton army, their eyes widened. It was as if they had seen something inconceivable. Some even thought that their eyes must be playing tricks on them. On the third day, everyone finally encountered skeleton soldiers again. This time, Di Beichun didn't use the power of darkness. Instead, it was Bailey Hongzhuang who used it. Similarly, the skeleton soldiers also addressed Bailey Hongzhuang as Lord. Just when everyone thought that the skeleton soldiers had the same attitude towards all darkness-type cultivators, Bailey Yinshe also gave it a try. Chapter 56-51. Upon noticing this, everyone's thoughts changed. The skeleton soldiers seemed to only address the two of you as such. What's the difference between the two of you and Yinshe? When Xiren was puzzled, they were both of the dark attribute, so there shouldn't be much of a difference. Could it be that these skeletons know that Yinshe is a demon beast and not a real human? Xiaohei was surprised. Even skeletons have become so smart now. Just as everyone was puzzled, Ling gave an explanation. You've all received the inheritance of the Dark Holy Sun. Although Hongzhuang only received the Holy Sun's recognition, it's normal for these skeletons to treat you this way because of the relationship between the Holy Sun and the Holy Daughter. Even if they're both dark energy, their purity is different. Skeletons are very sensitive to dark energy. There's also a strict hierarchy among them, and this hierarchy is based on the purity of their dark energy. Without a doubt, Beichun's energy purity is the highest, and Hongzhuang's is second. As for the others, they don't look any different, but the difference is huge to the skeletons. Everyone finally understood. They didn't expect there to be so many reasons behind this. Bailey Yinshe turned to look at Linger. Since you knew, why didn't you say so earlier? I saw that everyone was so interested in this matter, so I let you give it a try. Everyone looked at each other. Ling-er's brain was indeed wired differently from normal people. Who asked her to be a demon beast? In the upper realm. This time, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others didn't teleport to Rongan City. Instead, they appeared in another city. Before entering the teleportation formation, Bailey Hongzhuang sent Situ Yin and the others into the Chaos Ring. Although she was the holy daughter of the light and had certain privileges, it was still against the rules to suddenly bring so many cultivators, some of whom hadn't even broken through to the Starlight Realm. Therefore, it was best to keep a secret. The people guarding the teleportation formation were also very surprised when they saw the holy daughter of the light appear. They received them respectfully and even specially prepared a map. With the map in hand, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three set off. The upper realm was extremely large, and the distance between the different cities was very far. They had come to this unfamiliar place, and if they wanted to go back, they would need to buy a map first. Bewitching looked at the map in his hand and understood the direction. He immediately led everyone to the flying car and rushed towards the D family. According to Bailey Hongzhuang's plan, everyone would stay with the Bailey family, but before that, they had to go to the D family. Just as Bewitching and his group set off for the D family, Xiao Wanrong and Lin Yanqing were also talking about them. Bewitching and Hongzhuang have been in the lower realm for a while now. I wonder how they are now. Why haven't they returned after so long? Xiao Wanrong couldn't figure it out. She knew that some time was inevitably delayed on the way, but no matter how she looked at it, it wasn't a short time. If they planned to accompany their family in the lower realm, it's understandable, but didn't Bewitching and the others plan to bring everyone to the upper realm? Lin Yanqing was also thinking, "Mother, do you think it's possible that Hongzhuang's family is unwilling to come to the upper realm?" Chapter 56-52. Within the D family's territory. After traveling for a period of time, Bailey Hongzhuang's group finally arrived at the D family's territory. The four of them got off the flying carriage. At the same time, Tian and the others also came out of the chaos ring. Looking at the vast and boundless grassland in front of them and the scene of exuberant vitality under the sunlight, everyone's mood became better. "Bei-chun, are we almost there?" Tian asked. Bei-chun nodded slightly and pointed to the front. "Not far ahead is my family's home. This area usually doesn't have many people coming here. Looking at the environment in front of us, I really don't feel much difference. I didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, we're already in the upper realm." Yulin Feng smiled. Lan Yunxiao's gaze turned to the distance. It was empty and didn't look like there was anyone living here. He understood. The upper realm and lower realm are the same in this aspect. They both set up illusions. If others came here, they definitely wouldn't think that there was a family here. However, this illusory realm is much more advanced than our illusory realm. Wen Jinghui seriously looked around. He was extremely familiar with the illusions of the Cloud Sword sect. Even if ordinary people couldn't see through it, he could still sense some fluctuations. Standing here, he couldn't sense any fluctuations at all. If it wasn't for Bewitching's reminder, he wouldn't have noticed that there was a cultivation family nearby. The upper realm's methods are indeed much more advanced. Tian nodded in agreement. Not long after, Bewitching's hand seals flipped and the scene before them suddenly changed. It was no longer an endless grassland, but a huge family that meandered upwards majestically. Lan Yunxiao and the others looked ahead in shock. This scale was indeed much larger. The origin energy here is so dense. Nangong Wu could not help but exclaim. From the moment she stepped into this place, she could feel that the density of the Yuan Qi had increased by several times. Under the support of the array, the concentration of elemental energy in Limitless Palace was much stronger than the outside world. However, the entire D family was so big and the concentration of elemental energy was increased to such an extent. It could be seen how powerful the array was. This is only the bottom. The higher you go, the denser the Yuan Qi. Bailey Hongzhuang introduced with a smile. So everyone's cultivation speed will be very fast here. No wonder the cultivators from the upper realm are so strong. With such a good environment, it would be difficult for them to not increase their cultivation base. The cultivators of the D family were the first to appear when they sensed that someone had entered. However, when they saw that it was the young master and his wife, they were all delighted. "Greetings, young master and young madam. Get up. The old madam has been looking forward to your return. I'll inform the master and madam now." The man turned around with a smile and disappeared from everyone's sight in a flash. Soon, the news of Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang's return spread throughout the D family. Di Yujue and the others all came out to welcome them after hearing the news. From afar, Di Yujue saw several familiar figures and the smile in his eyes deepened. "We've finally brought Hongzhuang's family over." Chapter 56-53. In a short time, all of the D family's cultivators came out to welcome them. In-laws, I finally met you. Xiao Wanrong's face rippled with an amiable and joyful smile as she quickly walked forward. Her happy appearance made everyone clearly feel her welcome. Mu Jins and the others originally had some worries in their hearts, but after feeling Xiao Wanrong's amiability, that trace of worry was quietly put down. Xiao Wanrong had a very strong affinity to begin with, coupled with her heartfelt happiness. Although this was the first time they met, everyone inexplicably became much closer. Let me introduce you. This is my grandmother. Di Beichun stepped forward and introduced with a smile. This is my grandfather, my mother. There's no need to introduce me. I've already met the in-laws. When it came to Di Yujue's introduction, he took the lead to speak first. Lan Yinxiao smiled and nodded. Di family's head, we meet again. Welcome to the upper realm. We met in a hurry that day, so I didn't have the chance to properly reminisce and express my gratitude. Now that I have another chance, I'm truly overjoyed. I've already ordered people to prepare wine and dishes. Why don't we go inside to rest and chat? Di Yujue asked amiably. His tone had long lost its usual dignity. On the contrary, it was amiable and approachable, making people unconsciously relax. We'll follow Brother Di's arrangements. Lan Yinxiao also calmed down. Everything was as Di Beichun had said. The Di family didn't have any prejudice against them. The Di family's disciples sized up Bailey Hongzhuang's family with curiosity in their eyes. Even if they felt that Lan Yunxiao's group wasn't strong, no one had the slightest intention of looking down on them. Cultivators in the lower realm were restricted. If they wanted to increase their cultivation, they could only come to the upper realm. Back then, the young madam was also like this. But now, who dared to look down on her? Inside the room, following Di Beichun and Bailey Hongzhuang's introductions, the elders quickly figured out each other's identities and exchanged greetings. The atmosphere was warm and lively. So this is Sect Master Situ, the one who raised Beichun. Di Lin Xian stood up and bowed to Situ Yin. Sect Leader Situ, thank you so much. If it wasn't for your kindness, I wouldn't have been able to see my grandson. The Di family will never forget your kindness. Old family head, you can't do that. Situ Yin hurriedly stood up and helped Di Lin Xian up. I should be the one thanking Beichun. This brat also brought me a lot of joy. The old man is right. We will definitely remember this kindness. Sect Master Situ, thank you so much. Xiao Wanrong straightened her expression and stood beside Di Lin Xian. How important was Di Beichun to them? All these years, because of Beichun's disappearance, they had been suffering for a long time. It was only when Beichun returned that everyone felt relieved. Seeing this, Di Yujue and Lin Yunqing also stood up and bowed deeply to Situ Yin. Sect Leader Situ, we also don't know what to say to express our gratitude. Now, the Hongzhuang is married to Beichun. We have become a family. No matter what happens in the future, we will always be a family. Di Lin Xian's eyes were filled with sincerity as a joyful smile spread across his face. Chapter 56-54. Seeing the Di family acting like this, Situ Yin and the others were all moved. They had already met Di Yujue before and knew that Di Yujue did not put on airs. Now that they had met Di Lin Xian, they completely understood that the old patriarch's temperament was also the same. If it was an ordinary family, it would already be good enough if they did not order them around. After coming here, not only did they not feel this way, on the contrary, they were so sincere and grateful, which made everyone feel touched. Most importantly, they were a family. From now on, they were family. You're right, we are a family. Situ Yin smiled and said, I'm also very grateful to you for taking care of Hongzhuang. Grandfather, Master, since we've already said that we're a family, then there's no need to thank each other. Quickly sit down. Di Beichun eased the serious atmosphere with a few words and became warm again. Haha, Beichun is right. I won't treat you as an outsider in the future. It's only right, it's only right. Not long after, the scene turned into Situ Yin and the other men talking. while Xiao Wanrong and Mu Jinsei were chatting enthusiastically on the other side. Are you really Hong Zhuang's grandmother? You look so young. I thought you were Hong Zhuang's elder sister. Xiao Wanrong looked at Mu Jinsei in disbelief. In fact, this doubt had appeared in her mind the moment she saw Mu Jinsei. Logically speaking, the two of them should be about the same age. Who would have thought that the gap between them would be so big? Hee hee. Mu Jinsei chuckled. Madam, you must be joking. In fact, the reason why I become like this is all thanks to Hong Zhuang's pill. Otherwise, I would really be ugly now. Pill? Xiao Wanrong was surprised. Could it be the return of Spring Pill? That's right, it's the return of Spring Pill. Mu Jinsei nodded. Hearing this, Xiao Wanrong looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang and her eyes brightened. I didn't think that Hong Zhuang would have such a lost pill formula like the return of Spring Pill. The effects are just too good. Lin Yunqing also sighed. I've heard of the return of Spring Pill's miraculous effects before, and seeing it today, it really is amazing. Bailey Hong Zhuang saw that Mu Ling Bing and the other four were chatting happily. Even though it was the first time they met, they looked like sisters who had known each other for a long time, a joyful smile on her face. Mother, what are you talking about so happily? Bailey Hong Zhuang came over and asked. Xiao Wanrong held Hong Zhuang's arm, and her kind face was full of joy and excitement. Hong Zhuang, I heard from your grandmother that you know how to refine the rejuvenation pill. As soon as the words came out, Bailey Hong Zhuang suddenly understood. No matter what, a woman would always pay attention to her appearance. Grandmother, I happen to have one in my hands. If you like it, I'll give it to you. Bailey Hong Zhuang waved her hand, and a white porcelain bottle appeared in her hand. Seeing this exquisite white porcelain bottle, Xiao Wanrong instantly felt that it was even more beautiful than colored glass jadeite. Then grandmother will accept it? Of course, I originally intended to give this to grandmother. I've always said that Hong Zhuang is especially lovable. Xiao Wanrong grinned from ear to ear. When I first saw Hong Zhuang, I liked her very much. Not only is she obedient and sensible, she's also filial. I'll have to trouble you to take care of Hong Zhuang in the future, Mu Jinsei said with a smile. Chapter 56-55. Just like that, CTN and the others stayed with the D family. Although they had made up their minds to go to the Bailey family in the future, they had just arrived in the upper realm. Neither Di Linxian nor Di Yujue were willing to let them leave so soon. It was hard to refuse such hospitality, so CTN and the others didn't refuse. Di Beichun gave his cultivation room to CTN. It was the most abundant cultivation room, so it was also the fastest. Right now, the most important thing was none other than increasing their strength. At the same time, Di Yujue brought over a lot of cultivation resources from the resource room. Brother Di, Hong Zhuang already brought a lot of cultivation resources with her when she went to the lower realm. We really don't need any more. Lan Yinxiao hurriedly refused. Even if the Di family was rich and overbearing, they always took out a lot of cultivation resources. They were already embarrassed to accept so many cultivation resources before, so they definitely couldn't accept any more. Di Yujue grabbed Lan Yunxiao's shaking hand and placed a storage ring on it. Brother Lan, since we're already a family, there's no need for such polite words. Di Yujue smiled warmly. You just arrived in the upper realm. Although Hong Zhuang brought a lot of cultivation resources back, I believe you must have left them with your family. Since you're already in the D family, there's no need to be polite. The most important thing is to increase your cultivation as soon as possible. Brother Di, we really do have enough cultivation resources. Lan Yunxiao tactfully refused, but his heart was filled with warmth. Keep them. They'll come in handy one day. Di Yujue didn't give them any chance to refuse. Cultivate well. I won't disturb you anymore. Lan Yunxiao watched Di Yujue's departing figure, then looked at the storage ring on his hand. He couldn't help but smile helplessly. It seems that Hong Zhuang has a good in-law. Mu Jins chuckled. Previously, you were worried that Hong Zhuang would be bullied in the upper realm. Now, you can be completely relieved. The Di family will not bully Hong Zhuang. Now that I've seen it with my own eyes, I'm relieved. Mu Ling Bing smiled. The D family is such a big family. I didn't expect them to be so friendly. After CTN and the others went into seclusion, Bailey Hongzhuang first went to Dr. Wu to check on the progress of the Bailey family's doctor. She had been away for a few months this time, but just as she thought, Dr. Wu was a trustworthy person. There wouldn't be any problems if he were to hand the matter over to him. Dr. Wu was indeed worthy of being called an extremely powerful existence among doctors. In just a few short months, the group of young doctors had made rapid progress. When the cultivators of the Bailey family saw that Bailey Hongzhuang had returned, they were all very friendly. Bailey Yinyan was the first to rush over. Of course, when Bailey Yinyan appeared, Di Xiaofeng also quickly appeared. In just a short conversation, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun could keenly sense that the two of them had made rapid progress. Whether it was the Di family or the Lin family, they had no plans to interfere with Di Xiaofeng's feelings. In addition, the two of them were in love and often met here, so it was normal for their feelings to improve. Big brother, has there been any movement from the Jun and Xiao families recently? After the greetings, Di Beichun also became serious. Chapter 56-56. Currently, the Jun family and the Xiao family haven't made any moves yet. What happened last time was a big blow to them. Even if there are many strong cultivators in their families, they shouldn't make any moves for the time being. The Xiao family has the deterrence of the Holy Assembly, so they won't dare to make any moves, so there's no need to worry for the time being. Di Xiaofeng patted Di Beichun's shoulder. I used to be worried that the Xiao family and the Jun family would join forces, but I didn't expect that after they join forces, we have nothing to be afraid of. It's good that they haven't made any moves. These two families aren't easy to deal with, especially the Jun family. Their methods are extremely despicable and impossible to guard against. Thinking of this dirty family, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes quietly flashed with a touch of haze and coldness. By the way, big brother, has anyone come to find me recently? Di Beichun suddenly asked. Di Xiaofeng shook his head. I don't think so. Are you waiting for someone? No. Di Beichun shook his head. I'm just asking casually. Bailey Hongzhuang also understood why Di Beichun asked this. When they left, Huang Futing said that he was going to take the dark attribute cultivators out to experience and improve their cultivation. After such a long time, she didn't know if they had returned. Logically speaking, if they had returned, they would definitely have come to find Di Beichun immediately. Since they hadn't come, it meant that they hadn't returned from their experience. Is there any news about Yunju recently? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes revealed a trace of worry as she asked. Yunju went out to experience after you left. I asked him where he planned to go, but he didn't say. However, I also gave him some defensive treasures. As long as he doesn't encounter two strong cultivators, he should be able to avoid a disaster, so you don't have to worry too much. Di Xiaofeng knew about the relationship between Di Beichun and Mo Yunjue. In order to reassure them, he spoke very carefully. Hearing this, the two nodded slightly. I believe in Yunju's strength. He acts according to his ability, so there shouldn't be a problem. You've been running around for so long. Now that you're finally back, don't think about running around. Just stay at home for a while. Di Xiaofeng looked at Di Beichun and Bailey Hongzhuang. In the past, he was always said that he liked to go out, but now he felt that his brother and sister-in-law were not worse than him. Big brother, don't worry. Hongzhuang's family has just arrived. We won't leave for the time being. Di Beichun smiled. That's good. The sun shone through the window into the room, illuminating the desk and filling the room with warmth. Bailey Hongzhuang was sitting on a chair, holding a crystal in her slender hands. Under the sunlight, the crystal emitted a dazzling rainbow-colored light. The rich power of light spread out from it, making the already warm room even brighter and more comfortable. When I went back earlier, I didn't have time to study this holy maiden crystal properly. I should take this opportunity to study it properly. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the holy maiden crystal in her hand. Previously, the president had told her to study the use of the holy maiden crystal. The healing power of this holy maiden crystal was extremely powerful. If it was dug out, it would be really useful. Are you worried that you won't know how to face the president's questions when you see him again? Bewitching chuckled. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. Do I look so perfunctory? Chapter 56-57. After trying to communicate with the Holy Maiden Crystal with her spiritual sense, Bailey Hongzhuang found that it didn't seem to have any effect, and she felt helpless. Usually, such a treasure was communicated with spiritual sense, but this method didn't work, and it was really hard to think of another way. She poured the power of light into the Holy Maiden Crystal, and the Holy Maiden Crystal would emit an even more dazzling light, making her power stronger and purer, which would be extremely useful in battle. But to use this power in medicine, she really couldn't figure it out. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. She had studied the Holy Maiden Crystal for a long time, but she didn't find the corresponding use at all. Since the previous Holy Maiden of Light discovered this use, it proves that this use does exist, but how did it do it? Bewitching looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, who was muttering to herself, and walked to the latter's side with a doting smile. Wife, there's no need to worry if you can't find the use in a short time. This Holy Maiden Crystal is a treasure. Over the years, the president and the others must have studied it many times, but they still didn't find anything. Although the president has placed this hope on you, I believe he also understands that this is not something that can be found in a short time. Bewitching picked up a snack and handed it to Bailey Hongzhuang. I believe you will find it. It's just a matter of time. We haven't been cultivating the light attribute for long, and there are still many aspects that are lacking. Maybe when our strength increases, all of this will be easily solved. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Bewitching, who was as warm as the sun, and the corners of her lips rose into a bright arc. No matter when, you can always dispel the worries in my heart. I can't bear to see you worry. Bewitching smiled faintly and reached out to pull Bailey Hongzhuang into his arms. He couldn't help but want to hug this fragrant person in his arms. Comfortably leaning against Bewitching, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. What you said makes sense. Maybe we're not strong enough. We've also rested for a while. Why don't we go and train? I have the same idea. Bewitching nodded. Yunju has been training for a while. Maybe his cultivation will surpass mine when he comes back. I can't let that happen. Bailey Hongzhuang was a little surprised. I didn't expect you to be so competitive. That depends on who the opponent is. When Shangguan Yingying and when Ziren heard Bailey Hongzhuang's suggestion, they immediately nodded. What are we waiting for? Let's go. After informing Di Xiaofeng that they were going into seclusion, they directly entered the Chaos Ring. When the Holy Maiden Crystal Riches Toozes, uses the sun's maiden crystal maidens looking around. The surroundings were lush and verdant, and the lush greenery brought endless vitality, making people's moods unconsciously improve. If it weren't for the terrifying strength of the demon beasts here, this would really be a good place to relax. When Ziren was full of smiles, but a trace of seriousness and caution unconsciously appeared between his brows. Linger and Yin Che also came in. They also needed to train and improve, and cultivating in seclusion all day was obviously not enough. Chapter 56-58. Rules of Heaven and Earth. Shangguan Yingying frowned. What do you mean? In order to increase a cultivator's strength, other than their own aptitude and cultivation resources, the cultivation environment is also very important. In a place with more comprehensive rules of heaven and earth, one's cultivation speed will be faster than in a place with incomplete rules. The rules of heaven and earth in the lower realm are not as perfect as the upper realm, and the rules of heaven and earth here are more perfect than the upper realm. After listening to Ling Er's explanation, everyone understood. This is the world in the Chaos Ring. I heard from Master that the Chaos Ring is a divine artifact. It should be normal for the laws of heaven and earth in the divine artifact to be more perfect. Bailey Hongzhuang's face revealed a thoughtful expression. She wasn't too surprised by this. After all, not every magic treasure could be called a divine artifact. Linger, you have been following my master's wife before. You should have some understanding of the Chaos Ring, right? Bewitching looked at Linger. Among them, Linger knew the most about it. Linger shook her head. Although my memory has recovered a lot, it is still incomplete. I can't remember some of the more distant memories. According to my judgment, if I can remember everything, I should know the secret of the Chaos Ring. During this period of time, I have been trying to remember, but the effect is not good. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly and said with concern, if you can't remember, then forget it. Don't force yourself. Anyway, I finally know some of the secret of the Chaos Ring. I believe that I will know it sooner or later. Feeling Bailey Hongzhuang's concern, Ling Er's gaze became gentler. She had always followed by Yunjiao. She had already acknowledged Hongzhuang as her master, but they seemed to be more like friends. With her arrogant personality, she had never been good at expressing her feelings. However, she knew in her heart that Bailey Hongzhuang was really an excellent master. She would protect Bailey Hongzhuang well, not only because of her previous master's instructions, but also because of Bailey Hongzhuang herself. I feel like this forest world isn't an illusory world, but a real one. Ling voiced her conjecture, and this conjecture made everyone present agree. Xiren opened his mouth so wide that 2 eggs could fit in it. He looked at Linger in disbelief. Is what you said true? This is my judgment. I'm inclined to believe that it's true. Linger didn't say anything definite. Because her memory wasn't complete, she was only speaking based on her judgment. If this is really a small world, then it's too mystical. Could it be that Senior White created this small world to help you increase your cultivation? Shangguan Yingying had a look of amazement on her face. She felt that this primordial chaos ring was too mystical. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, who would have thought that a ring could have so many wonderful uses? What I mean is, this is not a small world that belongs to the Chaos Ring. Linger spoke again. Then, she shook her head. Bye. I'm not too sure right now. Let's take it one step at a time. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other in dismay. A very shocking conjecture had already appeared in their minds. If Linger's judgment was true, then this was really too shocking. But because it was too outrageous, they couldn't really believe it. Chapter 56-59. As the group continued forward, they saw some demonic beasts and some small animals along the way. However, these demonic beasts were clearly not as powerful as them. Once they sensed by Li Yanche's majestic aura as a beast king and Linger's draconic might, they all retreated. Only a few daring beasts observed them curiously. The group of 6 continued to walk as if they were out for a stroll. Until now, the Chaos Ring was still the same as before. Once one enters, they would need 3 days to leave. The group was already used to this rule. During the day, they would hunt demonic beasts and search for heavenly treasures. At night, they would find a quiet place to cultivate. On this day, Bailey Hongzhuang and the group continued to move forward. The forest was extremely large. Even though they had been moving forward, it was as if they had only covered a small area of the forest. However, just as they were walking, the group suddenly stopped and stared blankly at the scene before them. Bailey Hongzhuang widened her eyes and rubbed them. After confirming that she was not seeing things, she murmured, "If I'm not mistaken, is that a person?" Deep Beichun gently nodded. "There is indeed a person there. How could there be a cultivator in here?" When Xiren was dumbfounded. This was completely out of their expectations. Previously, in the oceanic world, even though countless demonic beasts had appeared, they had never seen a single person. They had thought that the same situation would occur in the forest world. However, a person had appeared here. There are other people in the Chaos Ring? Is this possible? Bailey Hongzhuang's mind raced as she connected the dots with everything that Linger had said. She suddenly felt that Linger might have guessed correctly. Just as the group was staring at that figure, that person had also noticed Bailey Hongzhuang's existence. His reaction was not much different from Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest. He was equally shocked and astonished, only to a lesser extent. That person hesitated for a moment before slowly walking closer. When he saw the faces of Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest, his eyes quietly flashed with astonishment. Young Master and Young Miss are both very good-looking. You two are dressed in extraordinary attire. Could it be that you came from the immortal domain? Celestial realm? Di Beichun raised his eyebrows. This was the first time they had heard of this name. The man noticed the puzzled expressions of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, and he couldn't help but ask in surprise, "All of you don't know about the immortal domain?" "Indeed, I don't know. I hope you can tell me a thing or two about it." Di Beichun spoke in a friendly tone. When he first noticed the man, he noticed that he was dressed differently from the rest of them. This person wasn't wearing a brocade robe, but a robe made of animal skin. Although it looked a little shabby, it was obviously very sturdy. It had a unique characteristic that made people's eyes light up. "You don't know about the immortal realm." The man pondered. "So you're saying that you're also abandoned immortals?" "Abandoned immortals?" Bailey Hongzhuang was puzzled. Just by hearing this name, she knew that this was not a good identity. "That's right." The man nodded. "As long as you can't enter the immortal domain, cultivators without identity are all abandoned immortals. The area we're in right now is the abandoned immortal forest. Many abandoned immortals live here. However, because this forest is very large, everyone is rather far from each other." Chapter 5660. Di Beichun cupped his hands and nodded. Just as little brother said, "We haven't really left the area before, so there are many things we don't know. I hope little brother can tell us more about it. One look, and I can tell that you are well protected by your elders." After seeing everyone's clueless look, the young man put down his previous vigilance and began to speak directly. "Most of us abandoned immortals were chased out of the immortal domain by our elders and ended up in the abandoned immortal forest. The cultivators of the immortal domain look down on us, so we usually don't go near the immortal domain. Once we're discovered, we'll be caught and sent to mine. Mining is a very difficult job. The few people I know were caught and sent to mine. They died not long after. Those guys don't even see us as humans." The man's eyes were filled with hatred. "However, we're not as strong as them. I see that you're only at the nebula realm. With such strength, it's better to follow your elders. If you accidentally meet an expert, you won't be able to keep your lives." "Little brother, you thought we were from the immortal domain, but you still dare to talk to us?" Shangguan Yingying asked doubtfully. "My grandfather taught me that if I really meet people from the immortal domain, I can't run. Once I run, they'll know my identity and capture me. But if I don't run, I might be able to get away with it." The man smiled honestly. "I see that your elders made you dress like this because they were worried that the people from the immortal domain would recognize you. At least, it's easy to scare people like this." "I see." Di Beichun chuckled. "We were wondering why our elders told us to dress like this. I'm Zhongli Mu. Let's be friends." "I'm Di Beichun, Bailey Hongzhuang." When Xiren, after everyone introduced themselves, they became familiar with each other. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others didn't reveal their true identities. If they said that they came from the ring, it would be too inconceivable. Most importantly, although Zhongli Mu was young, his strength was extremely terrifying. At the very least, they could feel the terrifying difference in strength just by sensing it. In the course of this exchange, everyone knew that Zhongli Mu had lived here since he was young and was very familiar with the surroundings, so they became bolder. In Zhongli Mu's words, with their strength, they should just stay in the abandoned immortal forest. There was a certain distance between the abandoned immortal forest and the immortal domain. Adding on the fact that the treasures here were not as abundant as other forests, people from the immortal domain rarely came here. Of course, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were even more amazed by this. From their point of view, the number of natural treasures in the abandoned immortal forest was already very shocking. At the very least, the upper realm could not compare to it. However, this place that was filled with treasures in their eyes was actually a place that was despised by the celestial realm. How great was the disparity between them. Zhongli Mu, take this shirt as our gift to you. Thank you for introducing so much to us. Bailey Hongzhuang took out a few sets of clothes and handed them to Zhongli Mu. When they first met, she could tell that Zhongli Mu really liked their clothes. Chapter 56-61. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded with a smile. Yes. Thank you very much. Zhongli Mu happily took the clothes. If I wear these clothes in the future, it will be easier to fool the people of the immortal domain. Looking at Zhongli Mu's happy face, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other and smiled. This Zhongli Mu was simple and honest, which made people feel close to him. My grandfather said that it's impolite to not return the favor. I can't just accept your gifts. Zhongli Mu stood up. Wait for me here, I'll be back soon. Zhongli Mu, there's no need. Bewitching shouted, but Zhongli Mu's speed was obviously faster, and he disappeared in the blink of an eye. Seeing Zhongli Mu leave, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' faces became more serious. It seems that the Chaos Ring is an entrance that leads us to another world. Bailey Hongzhuang said in a deep voice, "This place is called the Immortal Domain. Could it be a world stronger than the Upper Realm?" Bai Yin Che's eyes rippled with thoughts. It's very possible. Bewitching nodded. Zhongli Mu's strength is so strong. In the lower realms, he should be a strong person. But here, he has to worry about being captured by the people of the Immortal Domain. It can be seen that his strength should only be ordinary here, or even weak. Following Bewitching's words, everyone's heart couldn't help but sink. If that was really the case, then it was too scary. This kind of strength was too far away from them. Everyone fell into silence. This fact was really hard for them to digest. Bewitching, do you think that the world where Master and the others were blocked is here? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. She didn't understand what kind of power could make her Master and Grandmaster fall into such a situation. There was no such power in the upper realm, not to mention that she was not affected at all after becoming the Holy Maiden. Master said that her true inheritance was in another place, and she also said that she could visit the forest world more often. All of a sudden, she seemed to have understood. Bewitching naturally knew what Bailey Hongzhuang was talking about. After thinking about it, he immediately felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was probably right. It's possible. At the very least, this plane is much stronger than the upper realm. However, there's one thing I don't understand. Bewitching frowned slightly. Why is this entrance in the Chaos Ring? Could it be that the cultivators of the upper realm don't know about the existence of the Immortal Domain? Hearing that, the crowd looked at each other in dismay. They truly did not know about that. Let's think about it when we get back. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. The news they heard today was too shocking, and they needed some time to sort it out. Just as they were talking, Zhongli Mu's figure appeared in the distance. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of everyone. These things are for you. Zhongli Mu took out a bamboo basket from behind his back and handed it to Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang peeked into the bamboo basket. Her eyes couldn't help but change. This was because there were many precious heavenly treasures in this bamboo basket. Furthermore, they were all medicinal herbs that were very beneficial to their current cultivation. Zhongli Mu, these things are too precious. We can't accept them. Chapter 56-62. However, Zhongli Mu took out so many treasures for them. How could they accept them? Hearing this, Zhongli Mu smiled and shook his head. These things are useless to me. On the contrary, they can help you guys increase your cultivation. In the abandoned immortal forest, there are many of these things. I usually use these herbs to feed my demonic beast. However, its strength has already surpassed the nebula realm, so it's not very effective for it. Feed his demonic beast? Such precious treasures were actually used to feed his demonic beast? Most importantly, he didn't even want his demonic beast anymore. Everyone looked at each other. One had to know that these materials were incredible treasures in the lower realm. Every single one of them would be fought over by various forces in the lower realm. However, these were actually food that demonic beasts didn't even need. Wasn't the difference a little too big? In an instant, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others thought of the leaders of various forces. They only felt that they no longer had their usual dignity and power. If that's the case, then we'll accept them. Di Beichen's smile was a little forced. Now it seemed that their strength couldn't even compare to Zhongli Mu's demonic beast. Haha, I hope you guys can come often in the future. I'm usually very bored. Zhongli Mu's smile was incomparably bright. This is the first time I've made so many friends of the same age. Bai Li Yin Che's eyes lit up and suddenly asked, Zhongli Mu, if we come in the future, can you bring us along to cultivate together? Now that they thought about it, it was too dangerous for them to come to the forest world first. After today's understanding, with their strength, they were completely powerless here. If they weren't careful, they could lose their lives. If they had Zhongli Mu with them, it would obviously be much safer. Hearing Bai Li Yin Che's words, Zhongli Mu nodded slightly. No problem. That's great. Everyone's face was filled with joy. With Zhongli Mu's strength and his understanding of this area, they didn't need to search around like headless flies. Then we'll take our leave first. Di Beichen cupped his hands and smiled. Right, can I ask you guys for a favor? Zhongli Mu suddenly said before leaving. Speak your mind. I wonder if you have any suitable clothes for my grandfather? My grandfather's birthday is in a few days. I want to give him a gift. Originally, everyone thought it was a big deal, but after hearing this, they all smiled faintly. Di Beichen nodded readily. No problem. We'll bring it over tomorrow. Great. Thank you. Looking at Zhongli Mu's happy face as he left, Wenzi Ran silently looked at the bamboo basket in Di Beichen's hand. He probably doesn't know how many clothes these spirit grasses can be exchanged for. Would he still be so happy if he knew? Shangguan Ying raised her head and looked at the crowd. After returning to the Chaos Ring, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen made a trip to Emperor Cloud City. The two of them clearly didn't have any clothes that were suitable for Grandpa Zhongli Mu, so they had to make a trip to the cloth store. Previously, I was worried about going back and emptying your family's resource room. Now it seems that I don't need to worry. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled brightly. In her opinion, the abandoned immortal forest was a treasure trove. Chapter 56-63. Bailey Hongzhuang bought some cloth and ready-made clothes from Buzhou. Thinking that Zhongli Mu might be lacking something, she immediately bought some necessities as well. They had been living in the abandoned immortal forest, so they didn't have to worry about cultivation resources, but their necessities might be relatively poor. Beichen, what do you think of the immortal domain? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Currently, I only know that the immortal domain is a stronger plane, but I just figured out a problem. What problem? There must be cultivators from the upper realm who have been to the immortal domain. His eyes were as deep as the sea and filled with wisdom. If these two worlds are completely unrelated, how can the names of the realms be the same? Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang thought for a moment and immediately understood. That's right. Zhongli Mu could tell that we were in the nebula realm at a glance. I think this situation is just like the lower realm and upper realm. The truth is in the hands of a small number of people. Di Beichen's eyes were deep. This world was far bigger than they imagined. When Master told me those words earlier, I didn't understand, but now I finally understand. Her delicate face was filled with emotions and sadness. She just didn't understand before, but now she understood how her master felt at that time. How powerful were the cultivators in the immortal domain. With her strength, the difference was too great. She didn't know how her master changed his mind in the end, but she would work hard to make the road ahead less scary. Di Beichen's heart also sank. This made him think of a problem between them. If the union of the Holy Maiden of Light and the Son of Darkness wasn't obstructed in the upper realm, then the situation might change in the immortal domain. Back then, Master and Mistress couldn't escape the calamity. So could they? Both of them obviously thought of this, but they tacitly didn't mention it. At least now, they still had time. There was still time to change everything. Just as the two of them were about to leave, a voice called out to them. Young Master D. Their voices were filled with surprise. Several cultivators looked at Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang in front of them and appeared to be extremely happy. Looking at these figures, Bailey Hongzhuang felt a sense of familiarity. She quickly recalled that these people were Dark Attribute cultivators. You're back from your training? Di Beichen asked. Previously, I suffered some injuries while training, so I came back to recuperate. Now that my injuries have recovered, we plan to go back again. Hearing this, Di Beichen nodded slightly. So that's how it is. Be careful when you train. Young Master D, don't worry. We won't be discovered. How was your training this time? Di Beichen's voice was filled with concern. The idea of establishing the Dark Sacred Assembly had never changed. Huang Futing and the others would be his left and right hands, so he was naturally very concerned. Young Master D, don't worry. Everyone's mercenary mission went very smoothly. Although we encountered some dangers along the way, they all turned the danger into safety in the end. Big Brother Huangfu told us that we will work hard to improve our cultivation and not let young Master D down. Di Beichen's lips slowly curled up. He clearly felt that these cultivators were different. Chapter 56-64. That was the light of hope. Because there was hope, his spirit, energy, and spirit had become completely different. Oh right, have you heard of Mo Yunjue during your training? Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly asked. Until now, Yunju had not returned. She thought about it and decided that if he went out to train alone, he would definitely be heading towards mountains and rivers. Furthermore, he did not know much about the upper realm, so the Mercenary Guild was a very good place to go. Not only could he train, but he could also obtain rewards. It would also be very easy to find helpers. Young Madam knows of Mo Yunjue? The man was a little surprised. Mo Yunjue is the most outstanding mercenary in the Mercenary Guild recently. He has completed many missions that others could not complete. He is now very popular. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other and smiled. Indeed, Yunju had gone to the Mercenary Guild. With his strength, this is also expected. Di Beichen smiled faintly. After you go to the Mercenary Guild, help me pass a message. Tell him that we are back and ask him to come back soon. Yes. After Bailey Hongzhuang and Yunju left, the crowd could not help but whisper. Young Master D and Young Madam are very powerful. Even their friends are so powerful. Isn't that so? How famous is Mo Yunjue now in the Mercenary Guild? Actually, he has only appeared for a few short months. It is really amazing. I feel that there is more and more hope. Haha. Di Beichen, where did you get so many cultivation resources? Di Yujue looked at the spirit herbs in the bamboo basket in front of him. His eyes flashed with a strong sense of surprise. The level of these spirit herbs was much higher than the ones in the Immortal Cloud secret realm. These are all extremely precious treasures. It was really surprising that the two of them suddenly took out so many of them. I got it by chance. Di Beichen said perfunctorily, Father, why don't you give these spiritual grasses to the family's alchemists and refine them into pills? Hongzhuang and I have to go into seclusion to cultivate. I'm afraid she won't have much time to refine pills. I'll leave this to Father. Di Yujue was smart enough to see that there was a little secret between Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang, but he didn't ask. No problem. I'll send someone to deliver the spirit grass to the alchemist. These spiritual herbs are very suitable for Nebula Realm cultivators. I'll give them to you when the time comes. Thank you, Father. Di Beichen said with a smile. If I get more spiritual herbs in the future, I'll give them to you to fill up the resource room. Then I'll be waiting. Di Yujue's eyes were filled with love. He was also very fond of this little son of his. Only after Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang left, Lin Yinxing said, These spirit grasses are simply tailor-made for Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang. They are very beneficial to Nebula Realm cultivators. However, these spirit grasses are very hard to come by. I wonder where these two little fellas got them. These two little fellas always have a lot of secrets. No matter where they got them, it's a good thing. I feel that they must have their own ways to improve their strength so quickly. Lin Yinqing smiled faintly. They are very smart. Moreover, all outstanding cultivators have their own secrets. This proves that they have a great opportunity. I'm really looking forward to their future growth. I believe they will amaze everyone. Chapter 56-65. The next day, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest went to the forest world again. Not long after they appeared, Zhong Limu appeared at the same place as yesterday. You guys are already here, even earlier than me. Zhong Limu was very happy. Yes, from today onwards, we will be following you to cultivate. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. No problem. Zhong Limu smiled and nodded. But after I brought back the clothes you guys gave me yesterday, my grandfather asked me to bring you guys home to thank you. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Deep Beichun looked at each other, their emotions complicated. Zhong Limu had been living in the abandoned immortal forest all these years and did not come into contact with many people, so he was very simple and honest. However, they would not think of Zhong Limu's grandfather in this way. It was probably because of their meeting with Zhong Limu yesterday. After he went back and told his elders about this matter, his elders became suspicious of their existence. If they went today, it might cause a lot of trouble. Zhong Limu's strength was already something they could not deal with, let alone Zhong Limu's grandfather. Killing them would be as easy as killing a grasshopper. Shangguan Yingying and Wen Ziren naturally thought of this as well. Although they did not have any ill intentions towards Zhong Limu, it was already very difficult for them to explain why they had come here so inexplicably. At that moment, everyone fell into a state of hesitation. If we encounter danger, we might not be able to escape unscathed. Di Beichun said in a low voice. But if we don't go, it will seem like we have a guilty conscience, and it will be impossible to contact Zhong Limu in the future. Without Zhong Limu, it will be very dangerous for us to cultivate here, and it will be very difficult for us to obtain information about the immortal realm. Bailey Hongzhuang's brows wrinkled slightly. This really gave them a big problem. It would not be easy to find other simple cultivators like Zhong Limu in the abandoned immortal forest. Most importantly, no matter who they met, they would have to go through this hurdle. When Zhong Limu saw the hesitation of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, he was a little confused. Are you really not from the abandoned immortal forest? Zhong Limu found it hard to believe. Yesterday, when his grandfather told him about this matter, he strongly refuted it because everyone was so good, so it was impossible for them to lie to him. However, the hesitation of Di Beichun and the others revealed a lot of information. You really are from the immortal domain. Zhong Limu raised his voice and hurriedly took a few steps back. His expression was no longer as friendly as before, and there was a trace of hostility and vigilance. What is your purpose in approaching me? Bailey Hongzhuang's group of 6 looked at each other, a trace of helplessness in their eyes. Just as they were about to explain, a powerful aura suddenly appeared. A figure appeared beside Zhong Limu. Although the old man looked old, he was still full of energy and didn't look haggard at all. This was the strongest aura Bailey Hongzhuang had felt other than when she first met her master. Under this pressure, even breathing became difficult. I have taught you many times to not trust others, but you are always like this. How can I not worry? Chapter 56-66. The moment the old man appeared, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had the thought of running away. Because once they were controlled by the old man, they had no chance to struggle at all. However, the old man's speed was too fast. Even if they wanted to leave, it was too late. Everyone looked at each other. In this situation, there was no other way but to tell the truth. Senior, we are really not from the immortal domain. Di Beichun clasped his hands and bowed. You still want to deny it? Zhong Limu said angrily. Yesterday, he had chatted happily with Di Beichun's group, treating them as friends. But today, he found out that the other party had deceived him. This feeling of being deceived was like betrayal, which made him even more annoyed, and his words became more and more rude. Zhongli Mu, although we are not from the abandoned immortal forest, we are also not from the immortal domain. Di Beichun explained again. However, just as Di Beichun was speaking, Zhongli Mu's grandfather's figure flashed and grabbed Di Beichun's neck in the blink of an eye, lifting him up. Di Beichun did not have time to dodge at all. When he realized what was happening, Zhongli Mu's grandfather had already controlled him. The aura of death instantly enveloped him, bringing with it endless coldness and despair. "Stop!" Bailey Hongzhuang shouted. After seeing the old man's actions, she felt that it was difficult to breathe. It was as if the person who was being held was not Di Beichun, but her. "Senior, you should have sensed that we are only in the nebula realm. We are no threat to you. I hope you can listen to our explanation." "Vixen, are you trying to stall for time and make me wait for your people to arrive?" The old man snorted. Clearly, he did not believe Bailey Hongzhuang's words. "Old man, if we were really from the immortal domain, why would we wait until now?" Ling said coldly. "Zhongli Mu, we are not lying to you. Can you ask your grandfather to stop and listen to our explanation?" Bailey Hongzhuang stared at Zhongli Mu. Zhongli Mu was their only hope. His grandfather's strength was so terrifying that it made them despair. Only Zhongli Mu could make him stop. Zhongli Mu looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's anxious appearance, a trace of hesitation flashing between his brows. "Grandpa, why don't we take them back first and interrogate them later?" The old man looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. His gaze seemed to be able to penetrate their hearts, making it impossible for them to hide. "That's fine too. Let me find out what they're here for." When they returned to Zhongli Mu's residence, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others discovered that it was just a simple wooden house. There were a large courtyard around them, where some birds and beasts were kept. There was even a sky-shrouding eagle among them. Presumably, this was the demonic beast that Zhongli Mu had mentioned before, which had more resources than them. They immediately took off the storage rings. The old man carefully inspected them, and after discovering that there was nothing special in them, he frowned slightly. Zhongli Mu also took a closer look. However, when he discovered that there were many clothes and daily necessities that were suitable for him and his grandfather, his expression softened slightly. It seemed that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others really did prepare a lot of things for him after they left yesterday. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.